The U.S. Census Bureau now says that just 5 years from now, white children will be in the minority, and their numbers are expected to continue to decline in the decades ahead as the number of non-white children grows. The Bureau projects that by 2020, non-white children will make up 50.2% of the under 18 population. By 2060, non-white children will have grown to make up more than 60% of the under 18 population. The Bureau also projects that by 2044, the U.S. will become what it calls a plurality nation. That is, no race or ethnic group will have greater than a 50% share of the nation's population. Moving towards 2060, the number of whites will continue to decline, and the number of Hispanics will increase by over 100% until they account for 29% of the population. Joining us now to talk about these trends is Dr. Carlos Campo, who is the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference's chair of the Alliance for Hispanic Education. Dr. Campo, we're looking at a country that is really headed in a different direction, that is, a very different picture of life in the United States as we have known it. What is your take on what this all means, and is the Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference seeing this growth in its churches right now?
We're absolutely seeing the growth in churches, Heather. I think one of the things that's interesting is you're seeing growth across the board. So in evangelical churches that are independent, tremendous growth, great growth even in the mainline churches. If you talk to mainline pastors, they will tell you that their predominant growth is coming from the Hispanic community. And that's true of the Catholic Church as well. Tremendous growth there too. And I think one of the things we're trying to emphasize is that while the Hispanic population is growing at a tremendous rate, we don't think it's going to fundamentally shift the nature of who America is, I guess. I think that's one of the things as you think about the ways that Hispanics will assimilate, because their values align so well with the values that we cherish in America. We think that it will be a fairly seamless transition.
Can you expand on that a little bit? Because I think that would surprise people.
Right. I think when you really drill down, you see things like family and faith, education, other issues tremendously important to Hispanics from wherever their background is. And I think as they come to America, they adopt American values really well. Frankly, a lot of them don't, of course, have the freedoms that we have in America, but that's something that they learn to cherish right away and really uphold and feel proud of. So I think what we'll find is that because the mindset and worldview of many of these Hispanics, most of them, align so well with American values, that this transition is going to be far simpler than it would be in other countries.
When you look at the world of education, which of course is so familiar to you, how do you see these trends affecting what is happening in our schools?
Well, one of the things we're seeing, of course, is just a growth of Hispanic students. And while we focus a lot on K through 12, we're also encouraged to see that Hispanics now are outpacing whites in terms of percentage that go on to college or university. That's a new trend, but an exciting one. And we've actually dropped the high school dropout rate in half. So it's dropped 50% in just 6 years. I mean, these are tremendous trends. One of the things we are concerned about, though, is that the college graduation rates are not very good. So we're seeing at the top of the funnel tremendous growth, but we need to do a better job ensuring that these students graduate as well.
Okay, so you are seeing more Hispanics go to college than whites. Is that correct?
That's right in terms of percentage. So a higher percentage, about 70% of Hispanics are attending college or university in America, and that's higher than whites by about 2 percentage points right now.
And what's the key, do you think, to keeping them in college, getting them to graduate?
Oh boy, there's not just one single one, but we're seeing a number of factors. One is the Hispanic student is working more. They tend to have stronger family connections. Many of them have children as well that they're raising. So these add pressures to their already busy lives. So one of the things we need to do is help those students understand the rigors of college life. And I think another issue, of course, is remedial education. And that's not just for Hispanics, that's across the board. And I think we have to do a better job making sure that those students are better prepared for the rigors of college life.
All right, and I'm just curious, politically, how do you see these numbers affecting U.S. politics as we go forward?
Well, I think it's clear that in those centers where Hispanics are now second and third generations, places like New York and Miami and Los Angeles, Texas, of course, we're seeing political change already starting to occur. It's been slower on the national scale, but that's beginning to change as well. And we're certainly less than a generation away from seeing a Hispanic bloc of voters having a far greater impact on politics in America.
All right, very interesting time. Dr. Campo, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Heather.